All right, you're here with the Breath of Fresh Controversy podcast. I'm Zach, and we're here today with. You guys want to rattle off? Sound off?
ZP.
Sarah.
Jay.
And today's topic is one I've been looking forward to for a while.
Drum roll, please.
Yeah, drum roll. 9/11. 9/11 conspiracy. So we're going to let Jay lead on this one.
Okay, yeah. So, I guess some people are saying, hey, there's a ton of 9/11 stuff out there. Why do I want to listen to this? I hope you find something interesting or maybe something a little different here. Maybe you won't. I don't know. There's so many facts. There's so much stuff out there. We can only cover so much today. When we get rolling here, what I'm going to do in hopefully my own fun little way is I'm going to do the KISS thing. I'm going to try to keep it simple, stupid, is what I'm going to try to do. And hopefully, for those who care, if you're out there and you care about this. If you don't care and you already got your mind made up, well, it's probably not going to matter. Although you never know. You never know. I hope you find it interesting. What I think we want to say, first of all, and I don't want to make this sound patronizing or stupid or anything, but I think somebody said that on 9/11 we saw the worst in humanity and we saw the best in humanity. We really do want to salute and respect the real heroes and heroines of that fateful day and that whole time period. There were so many people that volunteered at Ground Zero to try to remove rubble, people that gave blood. It was just an outpouring, and that was some really beautiful stuff. And it's not a Hollywood movie. It's not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It's not Tom Cruise. Although Steve Buscemi, the actor, I think he did go to report to his old fire department, and there were a couple celebrity connections to people there. But that's the real world. Those are real heroes, and it's very sad. A lot of people have died who were heroes that day, who got to actually live that day, but then they've died from illnesses that they've gotten since then, and that's also been a horrible, horrible thing. And so I think as we go into this, we really want to think about that. And think about the best of humans, human beings many did give their own lives to save others, and many who did put their lives on the line to save others, and those firefighters, those policemen, those security guards, and just regular people, incredible, and that should always be remembered and always be honored on that day. But what happens sometimes, and there's an old saying, I forget if it's a Mark Twain one or not, how the scoundrel likes to wrap himself in the flag, or the scoundrel likes to wrap himself in religion. We need to always watch out for that. And some people will pull this off, and they pulled it off back in 91 when Daddy Bush was doing the first Gulf War, and they did this support our troops. And it was like, support our troops, but don't question anything. And if you question something, you were somehow subverting the effort. You were against your country, and you were unpatriotic. And we got to be careful with that, because that gets very weird, very hypocritical, and really very manipulative very fast. So I just want to open up with saluting the real heroes of that terrible, awful day, and there really were some great people. And I know that ZP in particular has some personal stuff about that day. Now, ZP, you were actually residing in New Jersey at that time? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was in 6th grade, and where we lived in New Jersey at the time, like where I was going to school, you could see downtown New York on a nice day, and September 11th, 2001 was a very nice day, and so we could see the towers from our religion class window, and when they got hit, I was in religion class, my brother was in history, and we could see outside the window the smoke coming off the towers, and then the priest, because I went to a Catholic boarding school, and the priest runs in and says the towers have been hit, and we spent the rest of the day praying. Like, the whole school spent the rest of the day just praying in class, like whatever class we were in at the time, that's where we stayed. And I know that I had friends in high school whose parents died on the towers. My prom date, her dad was late to work that day because the ferry from New Jersey to New York City was running behind, and he had missed the first one, and so he got on a later one and was walking into South Tower when it got hit, and was getting money at the base of the tower from the ATM, and felt the whole building shudder. And then, of course, everybody was trying to get on their phones at the time, and so I just remember Kathleen telling me about how her dad had to walk from South Tower to Staten Island to his sister's house in order to call from a landline to let Mrs. Callahan know that he was still alive, because it hit in such a way that, like, if he had been at work on time, he would have died.
Wow.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah, that's wild.
Sarah, you want to talk a little about your memories of that day, or
Yeah, I don't know. My memory is, it's kind of funny because the school I went to, they chose not to like share with us what was really going on. And I was in 6th grade as well. So we kind of heard bits and pieces, but we really had no freaking idea because no one formally like told us what happened. So I got home and I almost got slapped in the face by my mom because I was like, "Did you hear about like?" And I was just joking about it because I had absolutely no idea what was going on. And it's like, yeah, some planes crashed or just super nonchalant. And my mom's like, "This is not like anything to joke about. This is super serious." I'm like, I didn't know. But yeah, it's interesting how they chose to kind of keep us in the dark about it. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy few weeks to follow after 9/11. Crazy time.
Zach?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on anything. I think, I remember they pulled a TV out on one of those like rolly carts or whatever, and turned the news on and everything. And it was kind of this weird moment where I don't know if my teacher had gotten a call or somebody came in to talk to her or something, and it was just kind of like the normal day as was in grade school, just like paused, and there was just like this weird tension in the room, and I remember some of that. And then the only thing I remember was going home early that day. And I think you were working third shift still, so you were home at the time.
Yeah.
And we're probably surprised that everybody came home so quick, you know. So, but yeah, that's all I really remember on that day when it happened. So.
Yeah, so it was an awful day, and I do remember it also extremely well. I think that the thing that really bothers me, and like I said, my technique here today is going to be the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, and that's what I'm going to try to do here. I hope it works. There's so many layers to get through to talk about today. So here's where it is for me. There's a lot of conspiratorial material out there. A lot of people are familiar with people like Alex Jones, for example, David Von Eyck. That's his name, right? And they're just some of the more popular ones, but there's many different people out there, and I want to say that we can go down some rabbit holes here. That's fine. The conspiracy theorists, I just want to say always, for whatever we're talking about, I think have to be very careful, because when you break something down, you got to remember that if you personally weren't in on it, or someone you literally know was not in on something, you don't really know what happened. And that's the problem, because conspiracy theorists, and I am one, I'll just say that up front, we see the smoke, so we know there must be a fire, or somebody must have started the fire. But we don't know exactly what happened. And so I think all conspiracy theorists have to be careful, because sometimes they get into this sort of know-it-all-y area, and they really don't know it all. And that's the thing. So I'm pondering here today that the official story, what I'm saying, submitting to the audience here, it doesn't make any sense. Lots of things just don't add up, and many others have brought that up. And we're going to break this down today. And I hope that people find it interesting. They may find this very disturbing. I think that is, of course, the first basic problem that people don't want to hear. They won't want to believe, for example, if it is an inside job, they don't want to believe that their own government would do this to them. And there's these mental, emotional, psychological walls that exist. Others have this firewall in them that, this is a Democrat-Republican thing. Well, if you rip on the Bush administration, you must be a flaming Democrat, and you must hate Republicans. Well, if you've listened to any of our other podcasts, you'll find that I'm an independent, I'm a free thinker, and dare I say, I like to call myself a real right-winger, which very few people know what that is, so I probably shouldn't even say it anymore. So I should say a real free thinker is how I should term that. And as we're going to get into this now, I want to lay this out very carefully, because I don't understand how so many people, and maybe some of you can answer to this, and it's okay, I'm not challenging you, but maybe you can answer this. So many people just want to accept this official story that the government and the media laid out, and very few people really were mad at our government for not doing more that day to protect the people and thwart the efforts of, I don't know, what is it, 18, 19 suicidal hijackers? At least
Yeah,
some of them were.
there really was a media rush to go blame people in the Middle East instead of to blame the lack of military expertise and a criticism of the funding that we give the military, because we give huge amounts of money to the military. And instead of the criticism of the fact that we already were spending a lot on our military at the time, and it was more like, oh, well, just give us more money and that'll solve the problem, right? Whereas we had the most efficient military at the time that should have been able to catch this and didn't, So that is something that I definitely think that a lot of people, like you're pointing out, there was not enough criticism of our own government. There was just this immediate rush of take all of your hatred and animosity towards this event and point it at somebody in the Middle East, right? It wasn't, don't question the fact that our supreme prowess military was not efficient enough, or not in the right ways. I mean, did anybody get fired?
No one of any major consequence, and this is something that I really do want to get into. It needs to be really rubbed in the faces of people who are partisans. Because there are these people out there. I mean, we know there's maybe a third of people out there who are sort of independent or don't even care, which is sad. Then we have another third out there strong Republican, another third out there strong Democrat. And again, that's one of the firewalls to get through the mentality of people. Let me just say there's a whole other conspiracy that's the flip side of party politics. So let me just throw that out there. If someone thinks, oh, you're against Republicans. Okay, remember this. There's a thing called Pearl Harbor, okay? His name was FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was the most popular Democrat president, probably. Okay. He's pumping, he's pumping fists over here. Okay, well, I have nothing but bad things to say about FDR. But he was the most popular, probably Democrat president of the last century, right? You agree with that, ZP?
Him or JFK.
JFK would be, maybe second or right up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was very popular because people had gone through the Depression. They thought he came along with all these programs. It was actually FDR and his Wall Street friends that helped crash the market in 1929. But that's another story. But the horrifying story is Pearl Harbor. And so many hippy-dippy people are just really stupid, and they think that hippy-dippy is all anti-war. Hippy-dippy, like, whoa. Yeah, all these people missed it. The First World War, where my great-grandfather got a Purple Heart, there were many Americans who were really, really pissed off when they came back. They had to go over to Europe and fight this stupid family feud war, and they were angry. And there was all kinds of isolationistic feelings in the United States prior to World War II. And what happened was, well, Pearl Harbor, okay? And that's where our Democrat president, some people think that FDR knew about that and did nothing about it. Again, that's a whole other show. It's another topic, another conspiracy theory is huge. I don't know.
I think it's well known.
I just want to throw that out there because even Newt Gingrich, that piece of shit, he came out and said 2011 was the modern day Pearl Harbor. He actually said that on Fox News. 2001.
Yeah.
Sorry, 2001.
Well, it is known historically. Most historians will not fight on this, that the Gulf of Tonkin was another incident where it was complete rubbish and was made up to get us involved in war. So this is a known practice by our government, right? We at least know,
governments around the world,
right?
Yeah.
We at least know for sure the Gulf of Tonkin was an absolute farce. It didn't, it was. That was all just a
very strange
perpetuate a fear to get us in.
Best, yeah.
Right, and Pearl Harbor might be another example of that. I've heard some interesting conspiracies on that, and we could tackle that another time. But the idea is that there's a precedent of
that's the point. Let me bring it
right.
up. Yeah.
So
the point of bringing it up is that people should this isn't about parties right now. If anything, this should make you question why we even have both these parties at this point. And we're going to get into that a little bit. So yeah, nobody was fired. And that's how you kicked off this offsag. And that's the other thing.
Bush got reelected.
And George W. Bush got reelected in 2004. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. He got reelected. I mean, talk about being a bunch of mamby-pamby liberals. That's right, you Republicans. I really want you to suck on that. Come on now. Let's think about this now. You guys are the ones who want to say the liberals, they want to give trophies to all the kids. What the hell did you do? First, you elected this idiot, in 2000, okay, because his daddy had been president. He had done nothing with his life. He was governor of Texas, and he had some failed business dealings. He was involved with some baseball teams. And the guy had not really done anything. He didn't serve in Vietnam. He went away to the National Guard so he could avoid service. Didn't want to go kill a commie for mommy. Just like Bill Clinton, just like Newt Gingrich, just like Donald Trump. Just a whole bunch of people wanted to avoid service. But then later, oh, lo and behold, when they get in certain power, oh, we're going to have people die under their leadership. That's just so nice. So nice of the Chicken Hawks to do that, wherever the Chicken Hawk may be. So here you got this guy who's unqualified, and really, if you need a poster boy for nepotism, it really is George W. Bush. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And anyway, then he gets in office, and he takes a vacation. Everyone can look this up. In August of 2001, he actually takes a vacation, and this was very weird for me. I told someone very close to me in life. I said, yeah, he's taking a vacation. They're calling it a working vacation on his ranch in Crawfordsville, Texas. And this person in my life said to me, she said, "Oh, I wonder if they're getting him ready for something." And at the time,
this was before 9/11.
This is right before 9/11, right before, a month before. And I don't know if this was late July, early August. And this person in my life, it was not me. I'm not taking credit for it. And she says this to me, and I sort of stuck with me. Like, oh, well, yeah, I don't know, honey, or whatever. And so he went to Crawfordsville. And the press he'd do some little press conferences from his ranch. I think he even had Vladimir Putin visit him. He had some Saudi people, leaders visit him. And some world leaders actually come over there and visit him. And I kept thinking, you haven't even been in office for a year, and you're already taking a vacation. They call it a working vacation, but still, you're taking a vacation. I'm thinking, well, you wanted to be president, buddy. You should be there. By the way, I'm one of those people. I hate when any president is taking a trip or golfing. I don't want to see that. I don't want to know about it. I know they need some break. I'm sure they're under a lot of stress, but I hate that. You wanted to be there. You wanted to be in the hot seat for 4 years at least, maybe 8. Hey, get something done. Be working for the people. But anyway, so that happens, and then, of course, lo and behold, we have 9/11 the next month later. And I actually said that to the person who brought it up in August. They forgot they actually said that. And it was like, wow. So, kind of a weird thing.
Wasn't No Child Left Behind passed right around that time, though?
That's possible. I don't have that right in front of me. I mean, was it? Okay.
I mean, I guess that would be my point. Like, from...
like
not to defend him too much.
It's okay.
But if his major calling card for his first presidential campaign, if it wasn't, or first presidential term rather, if it wasn't the war, it was No Child Left Behind, right? And it was passed in June of 2001, right?
Okay.
And so
Well, that would have been before the golfing then.
what's that?
That would have been before this then, if it was passed in June.
But it passed the House and the Senate. That doesn't mean he had to sign it yet. So if he was planning
Do you know
on
when it was
signing
signed?
it,
We can look up when it was signed.
yeah, if he was planning on signing it, he would have had to do a press conference and be prepared to defend why he was going to sign it, right? So
Okay, sure. Okay.
this is a thought, right?
No, it's fine. That's fine. I mean, you're a fan of that? I just
No, I hate No Child Left Behind. I just am
okay.
aware because of my hatred of it. I'm kind of vehemently
all right.
aware
Okay.
of his politics behind it.
Okay. So, so for me, first of all, I have a lot to say, and I feel like I'm not passing around very much. Sarah, do you want to get in here at all?
No, keep going.
Oh, okay, very good.
We're listening.
Very good. Okay, so Zach brought up earlier. He said, did anybody get fired? And this is just to me. Let's put a circle around this one. This is one of the biggest ones out there. This is the era of when they started to. Let's say a lot of people in our culture, start to give trophies to everybody for everything, and this is some stupid ass liberal thing. But to me, the Republicans, as I'm trying to say, go ahead.
Bush didn't sign the No Child Left Behind Act until January 8th of 2002.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But for me, this was the ultimate thing. You elected a guy who really was really undeserving to even be elected president. Okay, and some people think they stole the election. That's a whole nother topic in Florida with the hanging chads and all that crazy stuff. And his brother happened to be the governor of that state of Florida, which we'll get into Jeb in a little bit here. John Ellis Bush. It's his nickname is an acronym for his name. Anyway,
Really?
well, John Ellis Bush.
I did not know that.
That's his name. I don't know. Look it up. Call him Jeb. I thought it'd be Jebediah. I don't know. No, son. We're gonna call you Jeb. It's like Chip. Yeah. And Biff.
Biff. Okay.
Or Mitt.
Can't get down with a name like Biff.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, Biff.
So,
you
okay, go ahead. Yeah. So, oh man. So anyway, and then all these horrible things happen on September 11th. He ends up getting reelected in 2004. Nobody of any consequence gets fired, particularly, and the person that I really want to bring up here to the audience out there is George Tenet. Now, who is George Tenet? George Tenet is one of the leftovers. Now, this does happen once in a while. I always think it's peculiar. And what I mean by that is it's someone left over from the previous administration. So George Tenet is the CIA director. W keeps him on. That's kind of a big deal. You know, you're director of all the world's intelligence, basically. I mean, you got the weight of the world on your shoulders pretty much there. And W keeps him on. Now, it's fascinating because W's own father, George Herbert Walker Bush, he was actually the CIA director himself back in the late 70s. You think they would have had somebody else in the intelligence community that they would have wanted to bring in. I don't know, just saying. It's kind of funny. So they kept on a Clintonista, George Tenet, and also a Richard C. Clarke and some others. Richard C. Clarke, I think, is like one of the only people who directly, publicly, has actually looked at some of the victims' families and said, "I'm sorry, we failed you." And that you can find that. And he did at least acknowledge that, for what it's worth. But George Tenet is one of the most disgusting things, and I really want everyone out there who's listening via YouTube and all throughout however you're getting a hold of this, think about George Tenet for a minute. This is a guy left over from the Clinton era. Okay, this is early 2020 right now. Our president right now just did one of the worst things for me, or one of the stupidest things he did. Let's put it that way. And just gave this some kind of presidential Medal of Freedom to Rush Limbaugh. Someone, again, who's done nothing with his life but sit behind a microphone like we're doing right now, okay? And we don't get millions of dollars, but we'll take it if you want to give it. That would be all right, by the way. But, he's supposedly worth about $500 million, allegedly, and I don't think he has any college degrees. I guess he did, I don't know. Michael Savage, another talk show host, said he didn't graduate high school. His Wikipedia says he did graduate high school. Anyway, the guy has no expertise in anything, no PhDs and nothing, and yet they've given him millions of dollars a year because he's told people things they want to hear, instead of him being a real man of the people and telling and ripping on both sides. Rush has played the little game of, Republicans good and Democrats all bad. Let's blame Democrats. and what worked great for Rush, and by the way, he's like, he's on the rabbit hole, Rush. I'm bringing it up. I'm going to bring it right back around. Hold on, I'm going somewhere with this. Is that Rush, in the 90s, of course, he had the Clinton administration to play off of. It was perfect because he's the outsider and he's ripping on the Clintons and they're Democrats. Well, moving things up to 2001, George W., again, elected Republican, okay, after the Clinton years, he keeps on a key figure, the CIA director. That's big. You keep that guy on. Yeah. And some of these other people, like Richard C. Clarke. Keeping these people on it's huge. So he keeps them on. Right before September 11th, I'm reading a Parade magazine, and it's this little. Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's in various. It's like in Chicago sometimes, and the Tribune and whatnot. And this is when we had newspapers, people. I know it's all going away now, but anyway, the Parade magazine it's inside all the Sunday editions, and it said how the CIA was putting advertisements, wanted dead or alive, about Osama bin Laden. Now, this is before September 11th. But they weren't putting enough zeros there. They were only putting $5,000, and they meant to put $5 million on this. Yeah, I remember seeing this. This is right before September 11th. I was at work, and cause I think September 11th was actually on a Tuesday. So this is like the Sunday before it. And so these idiots can't even get right something they're trying to advertise. I don't know if these people in Afghanistan could even read this stuff or really understand it, but people do tend to understand numbers. So this is what George Tenet couldn't even get right, and then of course we have this awful day that happens. Now, wouldn't you think for a second that George Tenet would be fired, like maybe whether it was his fault or not, just how how everything goes in life. Maybe you're on a job and something gets messed up, somebody gets reprimanded, somebody gets in trouble.
You get fired if you show up to work late 5 minutes 3 times, right? You know, but here the CIA director that was kept on from a prior Democratic administration doesn't get fired.
And I don't know if Rush Limbaugh was critical of that at all. I'm thinking how incredibly what hypocrisy for all you Rush Limbaugh fans out there. Just think about that. Here, the Republicans take over, but they keep some Clinton people in key positions, and then there's a major failure. 3,000 people or the roundabout die on our soil, not to mention all the others that died later from the sicknesses, from the things they breathed in that day, or the people that were just the horrible suffering. People were terribly burned and physically harmed, injured for the rest of their life, basically, because of failure. And here we are, you're talking about giving kids trophies. Well, no, that's what you Republicans did. You're giving everybody a freaking trophy. Where was the accountability? Where was the accountability there? George Tenet should have been let go. Richard Clark should have been let go. And George W. Bush, why in the world would anybody vote to re-elect this guy in 2004? Albeit, Democrats, your fault. You threw up John Kerry, who was really kind of like Bush Light.
You did not.
I did. So really it was Bush versus Bush Light. I mean, John Kerry did vote for Bush's Iraq war, and then he tried to backtrack it. He's a free trader, which the Bush family are all free traders. And super rich guy, and what was he also? Oh yeah, he was a bonesman, as in Skull and Bones, and ZP is real big on fraternities, and that's one that's right up there. There's only a few that even rival it in the whole country. That's one of the most exclusive ones at Yale, I believe, and I don't think they were there at the same time, but anyway, both George W. and John Kerry, both Skull and Bones guys. So we had Bush versus Bush Light. So thanks Democrats. You gave us. You talk about choice. Yeah, and you didn't give us much choice there at all. And then you're so stupid. You guys let's put Tom Cruise lookalike John Edwards, even though he has all kinds of baggage. Let's put that guy on the ticket with you. No morons. You should have put somebody from Ohio or Florida on the ticket with you. It's just sometimes you just step back from some of this stuff and you just look like, what is wrong with you people? It's just weird. I don't know. But it's pathetic that, here we are in 2020. We just had an attempt, and now I'm going to sound like I'm more pro-Trump, okay? I was anti-Trump a minute ago. He gave Rush Limbaugh, a totally undeserving person's, Presidential Medal of Freedom. And then we said this impeachment, people trying to impeach this president over some bullshit Ukraine thing, and he may have said the wrong thing and did it in the wrong way. He was looking at corruption, and it's just the whole thing was just so stupid. And here we have, back to 2001, we have a president fail to protect the people of this country on our own soil, and we've been very spoiled. Let's face it, compared to other countries, we really have. We really, other than Pearl Harbor, I mean, there's been isolated incidents, but we really hadn't had something like that, and that's part of the reason I think that we're talking about this today. And I'm talking so much. I have a lot more to say, so I just want to pass it around a little bit. I want to get everybody in here. Zach, ZP, Sarah, do you guys want to chime in at all a little bit?
I mean, you're on a roll here. I want to let you keep going.
I mean, if you want to bring up things you've heard before from people who are, pro that day, and they think that.
Well, I think you bring up a really good point about how Democrats are losing their heads over something that's very, very silly. And I think we said it before on the Epstein thing when you've got that going on, and that's probably a much bigger.
Sure, story.
Case, much bigger case than this Ukraine crap, because you're going to not only expose pedophiles, but it seems like both the Clintons and Trump may have some involvement on the Epstein case. So it's just there's a constant we're constantly being blindsided by the media, and everyone kind of knows about it, but instead of asking the right questions or even caring, we all kind of dig our heads into the sand and play our video games and play our little what's that one? All this stupid app stuff, and we're so busy with trying to get likes
Candy
on social
Crush?
media. Candy Crush, yes, yeah. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, and everyone's just so distracted. And I think just turn it off for a second, and stop trying to delude yourself with this isn't going on, this isn't going on, this isn't going on. I don't want to ask these questions because I don't want to be. Oh, I'm just too afraid, right? And just actively participate in something. I mean, you're paying the government how much out of your every dollar you make, you're paying them like 30 cents, right? Like you should give a shit. You should give a shit. You give a shit about all the bills you gotta, all the bills you gotta pay. Money's a big deal to you. You pay 30 cents on every dollar to these people, and then you're not gonna ask questions. You're gonna sit here and turn the blindfolders on and go, oh, I just don't care. I just don't care. I'm just gonna turn my Candy Crush on and I'm gonna watch The Bachelor or Bachelorette and my football. Fantasy football and
well, that's the thing.
9/11 didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, ZP or Sarah, you want to get into this? I mean, I think denial, obviously, that's how I come back with a lot of people make fun of me. I mean, because a lot of people look at me like, oh, you're a conspiracy, freak, and you're a weirdo, you're a tinfoil wearing a hat, goofball, and I always look at them like, well, you're also
you're delusional.
You're
delusional.
They think I'm delusional. I look at them going, you're in denial, and maybe it's your defense mechanism because you don't want to go there. You don't want to think that when you get on a plane somewhere, who knows, this could be a part of some thing. And I get that. We all have to fly. We all have to move. But these things happen, and a lot of people drop the ball on that day, and so. Again, I have a lot more to say here, so I just want to see. Does anybody want to get in at all? I just want to check with everybody.
No,
so,
you're good. We'll cut you off.
All right.
I will say, just to drive home the point on accountability,
Sure.
because that's become a big hot button topic and really has become a crux of not even far right wingers, but also centrists.
Sure.
Is the idea of accountability, and it seems like the far left, or even the moderate left, is like losing that sense of accountability. And this was a time to fly in the face of the right wingers. Okay, so for people who are lean more conservative or centrist, this was a moment in history where we, as the side that's supposed to be all about accountability, didn't, like you said, gave out the participation ribbon, and not even the Democratic people that were left over from the Clinton administration were fired. All right, I think we spent enough time on that, though. Let's move on to the next thing, though. As far as the 9/11 conspiracies.
Well, no. I just want to drive that point home. So his name is George Tenet. He was a CIA director. They kept him on. I think a lot of people would have fired him. Whether he was to blame or not. They kept him on. He left with a multi-million-dollar book deal. Look it up. And he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I'm not talking about Russia anymore. No, I'm talking about George Tenet back in, I don't know, it was 2004 or something like that, or maybe even later. He left the administration on his own, had a multi-million-dollar book deal waiting for him, and he got this Medal of Freedom thing, blah, 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 from George W. Bush. And, and Rush Limbaugh, where were you? And all Rush Limbaugh listeners, supporters, where were you guys? This was a Clintonista getting a medal from your Republican president who Rush defended. Rush and all you Republicans are big apologists for him. You okay with that? I mean, talk about giving a kid a trophy for nothing, okay? Talk about rewarding failure, okay? This is where you guys have gone wrong. This is where we have no such thing as a real right-wing party in this country at all. It's all fake. It's all fake, folks. And this is how I want to prove to people that, we really, do you really even have two parties? Because when you get to this certain level, I'd say the U.S. Senate and then to the presidential level, you don't. You just don't at that point. It's Demo-Publican, Republican, and it's all pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. Everybody's ripped on pro wrestling for years. I was involved in the world of pro wrestling. Life is pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is life. If you don't understand that, I mean, you just need to understand the ridiculous of 9/11. And the other reason is, why are we talking about this? Now, I had ZP, you and I were talking off air a little bit, I think last week, and you had an educator at the time, and you were a student, talked to you like, well, why are we going to talk about this? Or what are we going to gain? What are we going to gain here? And I wanna just refresh why I'm talking about this. Well, first of all, the producer of the show wanted to do this topic, so there is that. However, the other reasons are big ones. First of all, I don't count Jeb Bush out at all. Jeb Bush is still young enough in the world of politics. He may show himself up again. I liked how verbally Donald Trump did kind of bitch slap him around during the debates in 2016. It was very entertaining. I don't know. Maybe they worked it out all behind the scenes. I don't know. It was very entertaining. I thought to myself, Donald Trump, like, wow, you're either really brave or you're really stupid. These people will stop at nothing. And, so I'm still waiting to see if they're going to get him at some point. Now, I don't mean anything by that. I'm just saying if they are going to get him to this FBI or Secret Service, who everybody's going to listen right now, please please protect the president. Please protect the president. Take good care of him. That's your job. And I hope somebody does their job, which people really weren't doing their job in 2001. Now, we're talking about Donald Trump in the present. Then we're going to go back and go over the past in 2001 and George W. Bush. There was a guy who really should have been impeached. People should have stepped in and said, hey, I don't know if dereliction of duty, because they always say high crimes and misdemeanors is the reason why. I don't know. Dereliction of duty at some point is what I would call it, technically, the big legalistic term for this, at the very least. To me, what I say to people out there is this. When you look at something like this or other conspiracy theories, either you have conspiracy where you have people are in on it, okay, or you have complete inept people who fail huge. They just fail. They're totally unqualified, and they need to be fired or punished for those failures. And it just seemed to me like they all like you said, nobody got fired. They all just slipped through the cracks. Some even got golden parachutes, as they would call them. It's just utterly amazing.
Right. So when you're talking about why we need to be talking about this, it's that people need to be mad, and they weren't.
They weren't mad enough, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
People need to be upset about this, regardless of
Party.
what you believe and
Right.
regardless of party.
Yeah.
People need to be upset, and no one to this day is being held accountable.
Right.
And that's why it's something that will continue to come up.
Right.
Right. So to kind of get to your point, it's like, well, if you don't believe in the conspiracies, which I think there are plenty that are very prevalent and just right there. Okay, Tower 7, right there. Okay, anybody that wants to debunk that, please come on our show. Tell us what happened to Building 7. Please tell us what happened.
Especially
to Building
anybody
7.
who believes in science.
Yeah.
Yes, science. Oh, we love to talk about science when it fits our agenda. But then we had a whole building fall down. A plane did not hit, by the way.
Like, man, you got to believe in some really imaginary stuff, man. I want to meet your imaginary best friend too. If you want to tell me how Building 7 came down and it all lines up with the official story. All right. I also want to meet your imaginary friend.
So this is what I want to know.
Sure, Sarah.
What do you believe in the conspiracy? Like, what do you believe happened on that day?
Well, I believe that this was a total conspiracy, and I believe that they did this. Our government was all in on it, and I think people just, again, they don't want to go there. It's very disturbing. It's disturbing to me. I don't get a gold medal. I don't, if somebody said, "Oh yeah, you're right, Jay. You know everything. Yay!" I don't get a gold medal. I don't get a $6 million a book deal with some group out of New York. But if you got a book deal, hey, let me know. I'll be.
And we'll get you a participation trophy.
Hey, give me a participation trophy. But yeah, I mean, this is what I believe. And again, with all conspiracies, Sarah, and I'm a conspiracy kook. I admit it. Okay. I always say to people who I've gotten in big exchanges, arguments, debates with, and I always look at them and go, this is really crazy because, and I'll say it to you, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong about it all. I hope that this was all just failure that led to all this. But again, even if that was the case, then people should have stepped in. This president should have been impeached or certainly not reelected in 2004. I'm talking about George W. Bush now. And I just don't get it. And again, Jeb may run again or end up being a vice president for somebody or being a part of someone's cabinet someday. So Jeb's still in the picture, in my opinion. Jeb, I think, has a son. Here's a George P. Bush. You can look him up. He's in Texas state government, I believe, right now. Watch for him. I think he's got a big career in mind where he wants to go. The Bushes and ZP won't like me for this. I don't know. Maybe not. The Bushes are achieving what the Kennedys only dreamed of. Yeah, I hate to say it, my friend, but I've said it before. It's been one of those lines out there. And we have these families who do this kind of stuff. And I actually may hear from both of those families again. But what I really want to talk about is and again, so if you don't believe in conspiracy, let's say you don't, okay? The ineptitude of George W. Bush, the ineptitude. This guy sits in a classroom. This is one of the most disturbing images of 9/11 for me, where people are being burned to death, people are jumping out of windows at the towers. People died at the Pentagon as well. All these horrible things are happening. The plane that went down over Shanksville, Pennsylvania. All this horrible stuff's happening, and this guy is just sitting in a room full of children. That is one of the most disturbing images to me at all. There's all that day. Whenever I watch that, and I actually do. It's kind of a sick thing. But I do look at that once in a while because it's just a reminder of the whole situation. And people wanted to buy it. And again, what was he doing? Children. Greta Thunberg, children. Hillary Clinton, Takes a Village, children. You see how these scum like to do this? And you know what's so funny? You scum out there, and this is all you political frickin' hacks in D.C., you all love to use children. Oh, the Democrat, Republican, you all love to do the children thing. You know what? You love to bring up Hitler. You all love to do it. And he did it too. Find it, folks. It's out there. There's big murals, and it says the Deutschland. And there's Hitler at the top, and all the children are looking up to him. And what is it with Deutschland? I'm not German. What does that mean? Fatherland? There you go. They're all looking up to him as if he's the father. Okay? This is real. These murals are real, okay? I'm not making it up. So the whole children thing, whatever your politics are, whatever issue anyone ever brings up and they start using children, red flag should come up. You say, bogus. Oh, you're playing me.
Yeah, wolf in sheep's clothing right there.
Oh, yeah, you're manipulating me here. You know, really, folks. I mean, seriously, that needs to come up. But what I want to do, a lot of people like to brag about themselves. Oh, I could do this and I'm that. Well, I like to go the other way. I'm just a loser. I'm a nobody. So I'm a loser. I'm a nobody. And it's all relevant. I'm going to make it all fit in. But you got to think about what built up to 2001. Let's just think about it. A lot really happened there. You guys were just babies or you were just little kids. So I got a reminder for everybody. So in 1993, and this is the most disturbing part, they first tried to take down the towers. You can look it up. There's footage out there. Terrorists, again, and they were supposedly like, Islamo, whatever you want to call them, fascist, whatever you want to call them. They wanted to do this. Excuse me. And there were people who were caught, and I think they're still in jail. I don't know if they died in jail or not. Excuse me. And the FBI was doing their job that day. And I read in Time magazine, which was a magazine. Again, people used to have paper in these magazines, and they used to have them on coffee tables. And ZP probably grew up in that kind of household. Yeah, he did. You see, see, there you go. And I had this upper middle class aunt and uncle whenever I go visit them, and they, I was they were rich, they weren't, they were upper middle class, but I was like, oh, they had Time magazine. Oh wow, I only see those when I'm at the newsstand or I'm at some doctor's waiting room or something like that, But anyway, so we didn't have a subscription to that in my house. But I'm at work. And I'm working my job, and I'm in the break room, and they brought in Time magazines, the old ones, and so I looked at that and I read this article, and it said how the terrorists, they're telling me this in Time magazine back in 1993, that the terrorists wanted to knock down the buildings and have a domino effect, and the buildings actually fall into each other. Okay, so I read this. Time magazine, again, mainstream media rag, okay, that it is, but everybody loved it at the time, and everybody just, Time magazine must be true. So then this loser goes to New York City. 5 years later, 3 years prior, follow the math here, okay? From 93, I go in 98. I go to New York City for the first time. People are like, oh, yeah, you should go to the Empire State Building. It's cloudy, gloomy day. Cloudy, gloomy, ominous day. And I look down at, I think it's Lower Manhattan from there, and there's the towers. Mm-hmm. And it's all cloudy and gloomy. And I'm like, oh, wow. That's what they wanted to do, and then, I'm seeing it in my head, was one tower falling in the other and falling into buildings, and I'm seeing all that, oh my God, that's what they wanted to do. Wow, that's really scary stuff. By the way, everybody, this loser, I never worked for an intelligence thing. I was never in the military. Whole time I'm freaking New York City, all I'm thinking is terrorism. Not me committing terrorism. Now you say why? You say, why were you thinking that? Well, I guess I was thinking that because I don't fly a lot, and when I think when we got there, or when I got on the plane, and when I got off the plane, and I actually think we got off in New Jersey, actually.
Newark?
Newark, yeah. And I think they ask each time, like, did anybody give you anything? And I'm like, what? Oh, they asked me that before I flew in, and I was like, no, and then I realized they were worried about terrorism. So that put it in my head. Then I go to New York City, And I've just been to Chicago in my life, or big cities, and I thought, oh my God, this is like 2 or 3 Chicagos put together. And the whole time I'm looking at New York like, wow, it really makes Chicago look like a nice little city. Holy cow. I mean, I'm looking around the whole time, just the density of electricity and humanity and people. I'm thinking, how do you guys not have like toilets just all go out and everything just? How do you not have electricity just go out? Because there's just so many damn people using so many resources here the whole time, and I'm just like really freaked out by those people that said stuff to me at the airport. That, they're just doing their job, And of course, I was thinking a little about 1993. Again, what had So again, who am I? I'm nothing. I'm nobody. My daddy wasn't president of the United States. My daddy wasn't the CIA director. You following now, folks? People listening at home, you follow where I'm going with this? Yeah. But then baseball boy, strategery. He's gonna sit there in a room full of children in Florida on September 11th. Some guy's gonna run in the room, whisper in his ear, tell him America's under attack, and he's just gonna sit there. Would you, you Republicans, you pro-Rush Limbaugh, all you kind of people, would you just sit there? Ask yourself that.
Imagine, I mean, you're like, okay, so maybe it's hard for people to imagine that they're actually the president, but imagine that you're in the charge of like a company, right? Imagine you're for all your entrepreneurs out there, or people that actually own a business. Imagine you got a bad news where something's going wrong with your company.
It's
right?
urgent,
and it's urgent. I mean that's very urgent. Mm-hmm. Our country's under attack, right? Like, what would you do? Would you sit there? Like, imagine you're playing with your kids. Would you continue to sit there and play with your kids? No, you'd probably at least have to take a phone call. You'd at least have to step out and take a phone call.
Yeah, you'd
right?
have to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody in their right mind, what you said, is going to just sit there and everything's fine.
Unless you already knew it was coming and you were prepared.
Unless
for
somebody
it.
told you, we're going to come talk to you, and we want you to just sit here and be calm, and yeah. And I thought he was giving it all away. Other people's like, oh no, he's not that good of an actor. Other people are just doubting, like, no, I thought he looked extremely guilty. Now you can say, well, that's what you want to believe, Jay. Well, okay, but again, would you sit there? Just think about that. It's a known target. 2 words. I'm a loser. I didn't go to Yale. He went to Yale. Okay, a lot of these scum in the administration, in Washington, D.C., even some of the people that are on all these news networks, a lot of them have all this great schooling, Georgetown and MIT and Notre Dame and Yale and Harvard and blah, blah, and Berkeley and all this crap. Yeah, really? But here I'm this loser. I don't have any college degrees. I don't have any PhDs at all. And I'm looking at this going, it's a known target. And I'm looking at the thing in 98 going, oh, that's what they wanted to do. 3 years later, it happens by the way that it happened, and they're telling us, which is a whole controversial thing in itself. Could planes actually take down the towers? Very strange situation. Kerosene burns up very fast. Then there's a whole thing with what it takes to melt metal, and people say, well, the metal didn't need to get melted, just needed to get weakened enough, and then the one floor started falling on the other one, then there was a pancake. Yeah, but wouldn't that be slower? I mean, again, I'm not a demolition expert. I'm not a physics expert, but it just seemed to me,
and a lot of physics and engineer experts did come out in with controversial evidence that was saying that this commission is a complete farce, and I think if you watch the visual, if something were to take out a skyscraper from the middle, right, it would make sense for the top half, something to happen to the top half, but the bottom half should have still been there. Right? The fact that it went down, straight down, at the speed of gravity, into its own footprint, is exactly how demolitions are taken care of. Exactly. You watch, there's plenty of people, and this is where, if you want to debunk us, please, come on, we'll do a part 2, and tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how all these college professors, all these physics professors, all these engineer professors, who look at that and go, all right, that's some bullshit. Right? Come on and tell us how we're wrong. Don't explain it.
So,
ZP,
go ahead.
He's got something.
Jump in. Yeah, maybe ZP's got something there.
Please go, because I got so much that I feel like I'm dominating here too much, and I don't want to do that too much.
I mean, I guess my understanding is it didn't happen exactly like that, right? Because theoretically, Tower 7 fell because debris from North Tower hit it, right? So if it had collapsed directly down, then the debris from North Tower would never have hit Tower 7.
What do you mean?
Well,
Like, if something collapsed straight down, right, then debris wouldn't have fallen onto an adjacent
No. So
right.
no,
There was
it's
some
not.
debris,
It's not.
and there were fires.
Yeah,
in,
it's
in
not
W-
like
WT7. Yeah.
It's not like there's an invisible wall 2 feet off of World Trade's the Tower 1 and Tower 2.
So-
it wasn't like there's a 2 feet invisible wall that was protecting any debris from flying out of that. But the trajectory of how the building came down, it comes down straight into its own. It comes down straight down, right? And then.
So-
There's
No,
pressure.
I wanna show
There's
him.
pressure.
I wanna
There's
show him.
pressure
I
that
wanna
comes
show-
out.
I wanna-
There's pressure that comes
yeah.
out from the bottom,
Right,
and that's
yeah.
what the debris they're talking about.
So-
it's not that everything fell in a perfect pile, because then it would. I mean, you would just
Yeah, I
have
was
a
just
you would just have
clarifying
a
what you were trying to say.
skyscraper
Well-
of dirt. It's like no.
Right, I was just trying to clarify what you were saying.
Well,
because-
I like to answer you my own way. If you
That's
don't
the
mind.
way it's talked
So-
about in demolition, is that you, when you take out a building in demolition, it goes straight down to its own footprint at the speed of gravity, at free fall speed. That's a term in they use in demolition. It's not. It's obviously. It's,
You can watch the video footage and then even find maybe pictures of the wreckage and whatnot. But the way I remember it is one of the towers. You know, you're right. It starts to come down and then it kind of does this.
Yeah.
But here's the weird part: is that this kind of goes over here, but this, back to his point, it just keeps going. In other words, this bottom part, it just keeps going down.
Mm-hmm.
But this part does fall off. You're right. It does. And that's the part that seems strange to me, because in other words, if it fell, then maybe there still should have been some of one of the towers left. I don't know how many floors, but something, you know, maybe a third of it, a quarter of it, I don't know. But it's just you know, it's just awful and horrendous. And again, I for me, I just drive home known target. 2 words, known target, and no one ever seems to really talk about that. Who was in it? Go ahead. You were going to say something else, DP. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just... So it's, to be clear, like, you're
Sure.
not saying that it didn't happen. You're saying that they knew it was going to happen and they didn't stop it.
I don't think anyone's saying it didn't happen.
I'm saying yeah, it happened. I'm saying that at the very least, the people of our country should have been mad at that administration, the Bush administration, for their failures. At the very least. Then you have people like me and others who go the conspiratorial route that the government had to be in on it. The level of ineptitude, the level of failure there to not do your job properly, again, to me, cost people lives. And again,
And then nobody got fired, so it's kind of like, oh, you knew what was going on. We can't, you know,
and here's what-
make you
yeah.
the scapegoat. So you know, here's a book deal and a golden parachute.
Here was a liberal. Here was a liberalism that came in at that time. Again, for you Republicans and you Rush lovers out there, here's the liberalism that was bad liberalism that came in at that time. You know, it was in the 60s, you know, hey, if it feels good, do it in the road. Then the 70s was like, I'm okay, you're okay. Well, this is what happened with 9/11. It's like, I'm to blame, you're to blame, we're all to blame, so no one's to blame. That's the kind of bullshit that went on. They did admit a little bit that the CIA and FBI were not sharing information with each other. And that much I do believe is true. I had heard it prior to 2001 that there were always conflicts between the FBI and CIA. They've even played games with each other, against each other over the years, and we could talk even about other conspiracies where that may be relevant, such as maybe something you're interested in, ZP, and that's the Kennedys. The other big mother load of conspiracy theories, the
Magic bullet.
the
over here.
JFK, yeah, the magic bullet. There you go. So you always got something kind of strange that happens. And even in that situation, we'll go down that road some other time if everyone wants to go down the JFK road. But there you go. Here we had, this is where it gets ultra stupid. We had a nightclub owner in Dallas, Jack Rubenstein, they call him Jack Ruby, gets to walk in to the Dallas Police Department, put a gun right to the most notorious man at that time who just killed the leader of the free world, JFK, put it right in his gut and end him. So we don't have to go to trial now. That all happened. That level of incompetency by the Dallas Police Department is incredible. A local strip club owner, not a former cop, not a local, say, alderman or mayor.
We can
Preach.
We can dive
So
into
we can go that
another
some
time.
other day.
Let's
We'll digress.
But
Let's
the
stay
point
on
is,
9/11.
the point is, This man, I'm talking about
Dad's
George
fired
W.
up
Bush,
today.
his level of failure. And recently, here in 2020, we got Ellen going, "Oh, I'm with him at a baseball game. Oh, it's okay, even though I'm more Democrat, he's more Republican. Look, we're all buddies now." Like, no, lady, you picked the wrong Republican to try to be nice to. This people died. This guy failed, and then he left the whole country with a big financial mess when he left too. It's like, what are you doing? No, God, oh, these rich people just drive me nuts. Okay, now. So he sits there in the classroom, and then there is on more than one occasion where this man actually says, "You Bush people, you Republican people, you Rush Limbaugh people, I want you to swallow this. This is a fact. You can go find it." He actually says on more than one occasion that, when I saw that first plane hit the buildings, I thought, it was a bad pilot. I thought it must be a really bad pilot.
I remember.
What? What did you just say? It's a bad pilot? I'm a loser. And what are you talking about? I was there in 98, and that's what they wanted to take down. It's a known target. The whole world was told in 1993 that radical Islam wants to take down these buildings. They want to attack New York City. Yeah. That's what the whole world was told. What is wrong with everyone? I thought it was a bad pilot. Well, where the hell were you in 1993, buddy? Were you just in a drunken stupor? Big cocaine, alcohol blur? Because he may have been. Okay,
all the good Christian Republicans want to defend him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And James Hetfield is dead. James Hetfield, I just want to tell you, is dead. No, not the guy from Metallica. Hush, little baby. No, not that James Hetfield. No, another one. A guy wrote a book called Fortunate Son about George W. And the book actually got pulled. You people don't think censorship happens? It does. And and he talked a lot about George's younger days and how crazy he was. Let's just talk about the buildup. And I'll try to do this fast, you guys. I know I'm losing you guys and boring you a little bit. So let's just talk about it. So 93, they try to take down the World Trade Center, okay? The old Islamo crazies try to do that, okay? 1995, okay? We also 93 had the whole thing in Waco, Texas. 95, we have Oklahoma City, okay? So just kind of, remember, we're coming out of the Gulf War in the early 90s, and then we go into 1996, re-election for Bill Clinton year. We had something very strange happen. I don't know if ZP remembers this. He was just a kid. This happened off the East Coast, where a plane, it was a flight 9800, 800, this plane blew up. And no one knows what it is, and it was an investigation, but it never was really decided. But a commercial airliner, I think, blew up over the Atlantic Ocean on the East Coast. No one ever really knows. It happened in 1996. Look it up, people. Some people think that someone shot basically a handheld, some sort of a rocket launcher from the ground and shot it out of the sky. There's all kinds of theories about that. I don't know, but this happened. This actually happened. This happened in 1996. Then in 98,
you went to New York.
I went to New York. Thank you.
Timeline.
That's right. We're doing a lot. I got a little timeline here. And around the late 90s, Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda started to catch a lot of momentum. They bombed some embassies, I believe, in some African countries of the United States embassies in some African countries. And then eventually the USS Cole, I think, was bombed in 2000, I want to say. Some of our own soldiers were killed, and that was like a suicidal thing where they actually went right up to a U.S. ship with bombs, and gave their own. They were committed suicide to do some damage to a U.S. ship. I think it was the USS Cole. You can look that up, folks. And there was also a very strange thing that happened in either 2000 or early 2001. No, it was 2000. There was an Egyptian airliner that also went down. I think it was Egypt Air. I want to say, I could be wrong on this, folks, but it was in 2000, and I think it had come back from the United States. It was coming back from the United States, and I think going to Egypt or one or the other, and it actually went down, and the plane went down, and the claim was that the pilot was committing suicide, and he took down everybody with him. And there were people saying, well, no, he wouldn't have done that. It's against Islam to commit suicide. There was a bunch of controversy about it, but you can look that up. I want to say 2000, Egypt Air. And so either the plane was coming back from the United States to Egypt or going from Egypt to the United States. You can look that one up. So all of that happened And you look at all that in hindsight and go, well, that's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff for a boob who's going to sit there and go, I thought it was a bad pilot when he hit the first tower there. You think we're that dumb? Or you're that dumb? You watch this stuff, and it's all on YouTube. One of the most disgusting, horrifying thing was George W. Bush did a speech in Ontario, California. I didn't know that California had an Ontario. I always think of Canada when I think of that. It was in 2002. You can find this on YouTube, folks. And for all of you doubters, all you Republicans, all you Rush Limbaugh lovers, all of you people that liked George W. Bush for any reason or thought he was a good Christian man, I would love for you to go and listen to that speech. It is horrifying because he talks about thinking that the first plane that hit, how he saw it too, which I'm not sure if that was available, because that later came out. There was documentarians were in New York City. And I thought they were the only ones that had footage of that, but
it wasn't released until after. Now who knows? They could have retrieved other footage that people are not aware of prior to via this something like the CIA or something. They could have had things like the Patriot Act well before the Patriot Act was ever signed, and maybe he's slipping up there, right? Again, back to how smart was this guy? It's kind of like, again, they didn't cover their tracks very, very well.
And it's out there, and I think there's more than one example of this where he actually says this. And again, to say you thought it was a bad pilot, to me it is unacceptable. And this current president, Donald Trump, there's people that just hate this guy. And there's people that love this guy. And this guy said a lot of goofy things too. But to me, I can't think of any modern president, anybody who said anything that stupid and that makes no sense at all. You thought that was a bad pilot. And then the next couple lines, he actually uses the word amazing over what happened. I mean, don't you guys in your generation, and especially you guys say, oh, that's amazing. You always use it in a positive way, more or less, don't you? Usually, 9 times out of 10. He was talking about something horrible that happened, and he thought how amazing it was that happened. And you can find all of this. It's 2002, George W. Bush. It is a speech he gave in Ontario, California. And again, this is the kind of man, Rush Limbaugh, gets paid millions of dollars a year to defend and tell you, oh, Republicans are so great, Democrats are so bad. And again, I'm not endorsing Democrats. I'm just telling you, this is just sick. Rush should have no more career. The Bushes should be done. He should have never been reelected. He probably should have been fired. A lot of people would say, why didn't everybody? Did people try to impeach him? There was a little bit of an effort to try to impeach him. It was very small. It was a very small number of people. But what happened right after 9/11, a lot of people forget about. First of all, what happened right after 9/11, another plane went down in New York City, right in the city. Very weird. That basically didn't get talked about much at all. They basically said, oh, that's not terrorism. He just had terrorism 2 weeks before.
Right.
You remember that too? That was scary as hell. I was like, how are you going to tell me that's not terrorism? How am I supposed to believe? What am I supposed to believe here? Okay? But then, within a few weeks or a month after September 11th, everybody forgets this. What happened to Congress? See if ZP knows, because he's a smart kid. So you were just a kid. What happened to Congress, ZP? I know I'm putting you in a spot, buddy.
2002, it would be midterm elections.
Well, yeah, but before that, no, we're still in 2001. I don't mean to put you. I know I'm putting you in a spot, buddy. I'm sorry.
In December they'll probably go on.
I'll help you out a little bit. See if somebody remembers this. Because nobody remembers this. This is what really bothers me. Something happened to Congress. They kind of had to clear out a little bit. Yeah, you remember a little bit? Yeah. They told everybody in Congress,
oh yeah, go home.
we'll kill you. Yeah. Well, what? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Yes, I didn't say that. I'm not going to do anything unlawful. No. They did. The Bush administration said, we will kill you. What? He didn't say that. That's a lie. No, look it up. They used anthrax.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
They had people clear Congress. They basically told everybody in Congress, we can.
God, I totally forgot that was the thing that happened.
They basically told them, we can get to you. we could do whatever we want to do.
Yeah,
we
they
could do
like sent mail to Congress
There
with
you
anthrax
go.
in it, like from all over the country, right?
Oh yeah.
They
and
cleared
then
out
it was
the
like, it was
buildings.
on newspapers and all sorts of shit, right? Like,
They had to clear out the Capitol.
they
I
had
think
to,
more than
like,
once.
yeah.
More than once.
they had to send everyone home multiple times. I remember that.
So what was that? And I'm just a loser, nobody, pondering. Seems to me it was a message. Sort of a message that says, any of you guys question this, you get out of line, we'll get you. We'll get you however we want to get you. We'll get you. We'll do whatever we want to do.
That was in 2001.
I want you to look it up. All the doubters out there. Yeah, that's what happened. If you thought, where was the dissent in Congress? Yeah, where was it? Very little dissent. And then when the Patriot Act got passed, again, that was just brought up here
Oh, yeah, then
recently.
it's like a crime to dissent.
Then we only had one senator, Russ Feingold from Wisconsin, who voted against it. One guy who said, "Hey, so this is a problem for me." And I just real quick about the Patriot Act, folks. Hey, how did that Patriot Act work in Boston? Huh? Did it help you out? Yeah. Even the Russians said to the FBI, "Hey, watch those Synaroff brothers. Watch those guys." You know, the FBI, Peter Strzok, James Comey, like,
Here's
whatever.
the facts. Here's the facts
Here
on
we
the
go.
anthrax attacks.
Let's get back to the
2001 anthrax attacks, also known as Amerithrax from its FBI case name,
Yeah.
occurred in the United States over the course of several weeks, beginning on September 18th, 2001, 1 week after September 11th terrorist attacks. Letters containing anthrax spores were mailed to several news media offices and to Democratic Senators Tom Daschle and Patrick Leahy, killing 5 people and infecting 17 others.
Yeah.
A copycat hoax letter containing harmless white powder was opened by reporter Judith Miller in the New York Times newsroom. According to FBI, the ensuing investigation became one of the largest and most complex in the history of law enforcement.
And they never found anybody.
It just ended.
Right, like-
yeah.
Thank you.
Jesus.
I remember that.
So-
The date says it
'cause
occurred
they gave
between...
us like all sorts of shit at school.
It
about
occurred
too.
between September 18th and October 12th. It was like right after.
Yeah, because they
Uh,
were opening like all the mail at school and like not letting us do anything.
Now, you people sitting out there who love George W., love Rush Limbaugh, love all that bullshit. You
Explain
go,
that.
Oh no, those are two separate events. One has nothing to do with the other.
A week apart?
or
Yeah,
does it? I
coincidentally.
don't know.
Weird.
You see, this is why people like me are cuckoo choose. I am. I'm a full blown cuckoo head. You know, I had this scumbag Borat. What's his fucking name? God, hey, man named Sasha Cohen. Oh, he came out and he was ripping on conspiracy theories, and he's not the only one who's actually done that lately. He's doing it on Facebook, and I guess the whole thing he was alluding to was that Russia had come in and taken away the 2016 election. I thought, what a piece of scum. What are you saying conspiracy? There's all kinds of shit, buddy, that doesn't make any sense, including what we're talking about today. Yeah. So there you go. That anthrax scare, pretty scary stuff. Nobody, by the way, in politics will even touch it. There was a couple congresswomen who got, they kind of pushed. There's a few people who have pushed for some Saudi stuff to be released from 9/11 that's been held back for national security reasons. But not too many politicians have really put it all out there on the line and said, this needs to be investigated again or properly.
Yeah.
It's just really, really sad, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I'm a nothing. I'm a nobody. I never served in any intelligence agency. I never served in law enforcement. I just can't imagine what people in those worlds, that's your job. That's your job to look for this trouble. And and when we saw Condoleezza Rice, when there was the hearings, and a guy like Carl Levin, and you repubs, I don't like Carl Levin. Okay, I don't know if he's still alive. He might be gone. Okay, I never liked him. Democrat for years from the senator from Michigan. He's pressuring Condoleezza Rice, and he gets her to say it. She doesn't want to say it. That all during the summer of 2001, George W. Bush was given these memos that said, Bin Laden determined to strike. Bin Laden determined to strike. You can look all this out there, all this up, folks. For all the people who don't believe in conspiracies, and that's okay, I always recommend not Loose Change. That's a very popular conspiratorial video that's out there. I always recommend 9/11 Press Truth. They don't say conspiracy. They don't make that charge directly. But they do show a timeline. They do talk about the failures of security. And it's available in many libraries while it still is. It features a lot of the Jersey girls. These are wives whose husbands died that day. A lot of them work for Cantor Fitzgerald in the towers. And these are people, who lost. They lost people. They lost somebody. David Ray Griffin, has also written several books about 9/11, as many people have. And I know, too, folks, that there are a lot of hucksters and people who have come along with, JFK and everything and written books and made videos and they made a ton of money. And yeah, you don't know how sincere they are. But there is real information out there if anybody wants to do their homework. Again, David Ray Griffin has written several books about 9/11. 9/11 Press Truth is a video available in many local libraries. It's excellent if you want to go down that road. I really just think a lot of people they just don't they're in denial and I get it.
Here's another interesting fact. And again, I think a lot of people when you look at the 9/11 conspiracy stuff, you do the whole jet fuel can't melt steel beams and blah blah blah. And there's a couple of things that are like kind of directly talked about. There's a lot of things that go on like the anthrax thing that goes untalked about, and we've touched a lot on that. This one's sort of in the middle. I think there are a number of people who are familiar with this, but I think there's a large people that probably aren't. And that was that the Pentagon was also hit, and the day before 9/11, on September 10th, 2001, the Secretary of Defense of the U.S. declared war on the Pentagon bureaucracy over an alleged $2.3 trillion in unaccounted for funds on expenses. So the Pentagon was under, I don't know if it was being audited, but that was openly declared the day before 9/11 on a missing $2.3 trillion. Okay? If you don't know how much $2.3 trillion is, just write it out for a second. Okay? Like $1 million is a lot of money, right? Like you want to break down the numbers of how much $2.3 trillion is.
A million is 1,000,000. And
you give me
a billion is 1,000 million. So you have 1,000 suitcases of $1 million. That's 1 billion.
It's 1 billion.
And then a billion is a trillion is 1,000 billion.
Everyone's complaining about Jeff Bezos, and he's worth like 100 billion, right? $2.3 trillion goes missing, and we're talking about it. We stuck it to the Pentagon the day before 9/11, and then literally. Now I think they're one of the conspiracies is I don't know how factual this is, but the part of the Pentagon that was hit by a plane, or whatever you want to believe, but the part of the Pentagon that was hit, there were very few people actually in their offices in that part of the building. It was under construction, and a large other parts of the building held the computers with all of the information about the $2.3 trillion missing dollars. Okay,
convenient.
Super convenient.
Who owns an island?
Super convenient. Well, I don't know. $2.3 trillion might be more than enough money to pull everything that happened on 9/11 off. I mean, think about that. How much would you have to pay someone to fly a building, or fly a plane into a building? If you really wanted that to happen, right? If you were Trump right now and you wanted to organize some sort of let's talk about that, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Like it doesn't matter. If you have enough money, you can get people to do shit. Okay? $2.3 trillion is more than enough money to pull something like 9/11 off. Okay? And again, that's something that I think doesn't get addressed enough. It's always the jet fuel can't melt steel beams, blah blah blah. It's like, look. 2.3 trillion's still missing.
There's just
no answers on that.
And there's just so
many.
many.
Was that just the end of it then? Because September 11th happened.
Exactly. No one cared. No one cared. Where everyone's like, Osama bin Laden, we got to get him. We got to catch the terrorists. Blindsided.
The military budget.
Go back to what I said before. Everyone's just like blindsided. Oh, I don't want to think about it. I'm gonna bury my head in the dirt.
Right. And then the military budgets went up because we had to go to Afghanistan. And then and that's also odd too. We never got bin Laden until the Obama administration. I mean, what kind of failure is that? My God, it was just ridiculous. And then you got these country and western guys. I'll put a boot in your ass because that's the American way. Like, what the fuck, guy? And then you got this other Daryl Worley guy who, like, 9/11, I'm going to go get in a skyscraper and film me my video. Have you forgotten? Like, no, we forgot shit. Don't tell me you forget about bin Laden. Like, idiot. No, I didn't forget about him at all. The president forgot about him. He never got him. He never got me, dumbass. This is Daryl Worley. This is these pieces of shit out of Nashville. Who are you people? You're just a bunch of sickos who just want to jump on board with all this shit. And, what did we see a couple months ago when there was all of a sudden some Iran rumblings? It was like a bunch of people also I saw on Facebook. Like,
Yeah.
ooh, we want to get going again. Like, whoa, slow down, people. Think this through.
We already went through
Think
the whole
this
thing with
through.
the war. Was it the war in Iraq and the chemical weapons or whatever, weapons of mass destruction? All that was a lie.
Never found the
Right?
yellow cake
And they admit
uranium.
that now. They admit all that was a lie. So it is kind of. It's just.
I don't
They
know.
even admit to things. They even admit to some of this stuff. Then you got people on social media.
Oh.
Let's go kill a bunch of towelheads in Iran.
So the Republican war hawk people, and you could be a Democrat war hawk too. Hillary was.
I was gonna say Hillary.
Hillary.
Everybody that
I know,
likes
I know.
Obama is.
I
He got us
know.
involved in more foreign conflicts than Bush did.
I
He had
know.
started the entire drone campaign, bombing a bunch of little kids in Yemen and Libya. Okay, I got videos of all that kind of stuff. I could stick it on here on YouTube. It's probably been taken down 100,000 times. Okay, all that happened during the Obama years too. Obama was just a giant continuation of the Bush years.
I want people to also think about that, the bigger picture, this imperialism. And by the way, I don't see it as nationalism, imperialism, because we really don't take stuff. It's more, we use our troops, and it's more for big corporations. It's their imperialism. It's the big corporations who don't even see themselves as American, even though a lot of them started here and they're based here. Or, it's the whole thing is ridiculous. But I just want to throw that at all the war hawks out there. If we keep this path up, you're going to have to raise taxes. Okay, we have this huge debt, and a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it is because of these stupid wars, endless wars, and eventually you're going to have a draft, okay? And this is what's coming. So if you're happy, if that's what you want, this is what you're ultimately going to get. And by the way,
This is what you're voting for.
All
When
you
you vote-
whacked
when
out,
you're voting
all you
for these
whacked out
people,
liberals,
that's
or
what you're voting
you whacked out lefties with your world, sorry, they're going to get you too. And I'm going to really tick off some people here now. What's it called? Help me out. LGBTQ. I know what they all stand for, right? Is that the community? Is that
Yeah,
something like that.
Okay, a lot of this. Watch me. I want to be wrong. This is all. So the next time it happens, they're taking everybody. They don't care. Oh, they're gonna have a bunch of straight guys go, "No, I'm gay." Well, that worked for Vietnam. It ain't gonna work for this shit. No. Get ready. Everybody's going. Male, female, not sure what you are. You're going. Everybody's gonna go. They're going to kill a lot of our youth again. This is going to happen. So get ready. If you like all this, this is what's coming. Okay? So people, oh, you're an isolationist. Oh, really? How extended, how much in everyone's backyard, how much meddling do you want us to do? We are all over this planet. I would love to see, a little bit more isolationism. And what does that even mean, folks? I like to see a little bit of pullback. Let's get out of some of these countries. We can't afford this.
Yeah, we don't have any
just
money.
Nuts.
We're borrowing. Is it worth borrowing money from China in order to pay for a military base in Japan?
I mean,
Still.
do you dumbass?
Is it worth borrowing money from China and selling our bonds to China in order to continue to have a military base in Germany?
Am I losing your dad now, Sarah? He's really gonna hate me and hate the show. It's like, get away from those people.
Nah,
They're weird.
no.
Okay.
We
But
might
see,
be okay.
So I hope if you've listened to any of these things, you know that at least Jay on this panel is. I'm anti almost everybody and everything. And I hope you paid attention because I've ripped on everybody. If you haven't offended in this podcast, you've probably been offended in another one. So
We'll offend everyone along the line.
That's
here,
right.
Because that's just
we
inevitable.
will leave no
Breath of fresh. I'm gonna offend you.
Hell
we will leave-
So watch
We
it.
are the offenders.
We will leave no stone unturned. I'm sure eventually Silicon Valley will pull the plug. And if
Google will censor us.
Sergey and Larry find out about us, they're going to say, oh, get them out of here. No, we can't, so.
Anthrax.
It's coming back.
Send them
The
a
90s
letter.
are back with the
Send them a letter. And freak accident.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Why did I ever let you talk me in this podcast? I don't know if we should air this one. I don't know.
Dad,
This
take
is
a
probably
chill
all
pill.
gonna get us
We
all
all
killed.
just.
This is
You
gonna
gotta
get us all
smoke a
killed.
joint or have a beer before we do these.
Maybe.
And if
I'm
it's
so
our
glad
time
to
to
start.
die, it's our time to die, Jay.
Life is very short, Sarah. I don't want to.
Go on, stop.
God.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But I want people to understand the other
Better
reason.
tell our story.
Right.
The other reason.
They'll
that-
make this will be the Braveheart of 100 years from now.
Yep.
Don't forget me.
Jay will be the William Wallace instead of it. Anthrax. Rush Limbaugh. He's got his all tied down.
Jesus.
Oh God! Wow.
And Wolf of Wall Street.
Wow.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Lord, give me strength.
Fuck them all.
Wow.
Oh, so let's dial back. So hold on, there was something else I wanted to say when you were
I'm topping.
I think you're wrapping it up. They're rolling now. We should wrap it up like this.
No,
leave
no,
them begging for more. Always leave them begging for more, son. Oh my gosh. But the other thing is, on a serious note, and I love all that, you guys. I really do. Is that we just don't want another one to happen. You just don't want another one to happen. I'm a very dark figure, as you guys understand. I'm very, very depressed and very worried about everything. But I'm not the only one. I mean, people like Michael Savage and other radio talk show hosts, they worry about like a city getting taken out in America. That's what I worry about. I worry about another 9/11 happening, and it'll make people forget about 9/11. That's how bad it'll be. It won't be 3,000. It'll be, 300,000, 3 million. And this better be, God forbid, this better not happen. That's all I want to say. We spend incredible amounts of money on our FBI, our CIA, our NSA, as you brought up. There's even a DIA, believe it or not. There's over 10 intelligence agencies out there. And again, as a taxpayer, I expect more bang for my buck. I expect more protection than you guys have been delivering. What happened in Florida was pathetic, okay? Comey, that was pathetic. You're pathetic, Peter Strzok. All you guys, you're pathetic. Your whole ilk, the FBI, pathetic. That should never have happened. That guy, the Patriot Act should stop that guy in Orlando, Florida, summer of 2016. Yeah, okay? Where was the Patriot Act then, folks? So eat on that, you Democrats and you Republicans. Today's especially about the Republicans and the false conservatism that is out there. And it's very disturbing to me, but anyway.
Another thing I've heard you say throughout the years, I think, or maybe it's got it from somebody else, but going back to how long it took us to get Osama bin Laden, our great grandfathers are rolling in their grave. They took out an equal power back in World War II, right? The Nazis were more so. They were not these Islamic terrorists hiding away in mountains. No, they were a real threat. Right, we were really worried that they were going to take over the world, and we had to come to Europe's aid, and we would help them out and everything, right? And they took them out in how many years?
Well, I mean, there were people fighting the war, obviously, before we got involved. Pearl Harbor was December 7th, 1941. Basically, we dropped the bombs on Japan in, was it May of 45? Yeah, May or June of 45. And I don't know if D-Day was in June of 44. So basically, I mean, just roughly, in less than 5 years, my grandfather's generation fought and won World War II and had to, basically save the world. Let's not forget Russia's. They lost more people, and they also won the war as well. That should never be forgotten as well. But
right, definitely. But my point being is that Osama bin Laden, I don't think people saw the death of Osama bin Laden as saving the world. Like you just said, but I do think that people, when they look back at with rosary glasses or whatever at World War II, that we saved the world, right, from this almost fictitious villainous character that is Hitler, right? And Osama bin Laden, I don't think holds a candlestick in the authority, the power, the fear that we have when we think about the image of Hitler, right? And it took us over twice as long to get him. Again, huge failure.
Also failure, and the Democrats really need to suck on how whenever everybody talks about foreign aid, they always want to defend it. What's wrong with you people? Democrats, Republicans, we gave around that time $8 billion to Pakistan over the course of maybe 10 years. $8 billion, and they didn't help us for so long. 2001, 9/11 happens. And then they didn't get Osama bin Laden to when? I don't know. You got to look that up. That's in the Obama years. So that's over 8 years, 10 years later. I'm just throwing a number out there. I mean, what a failure of our...
I think it was 2011, but I'm not sure. Let me look it up.
I think you're right. It was before the 2012 election.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Like, you say that it took us twice as long to get there. I don't know if it actually did. I feel like... We probably got him before that, and
I'm the only one that
strategically renounced the death at a time that was most beneficial to the government.
And
Yeah.
you very well could be right. How will we know? How do we
May
know?
2nd, 2011.
Right, which
I
is
got it
like
right.
right in the middle of the primary season, right? So like what better time? I mean, if anything, May 2nd, 2011 is the primary season, right? It's when they're trying to do the elections for Obama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they will vote for 2012 in November of 2011. No, they'll
No.
vote for the next year.
The
But
next year.
regardless.
But it's when the
We live
Republican
in
candidates
a-
are all lining
Right,
up their,
like we live
their
in like
campaign
a
for 2012.
like year
Yeah,
long
yeah.
or multi-year long
Yeah.
primary cycle, right? So they're
Yeah.
all getting there, and so what better way to like solidify his
Sure,
reelection than
sure.
to say like, "Hey, look, I did this thing that nobody else could do, right in time for me to be reelected."
And
Well, again, my point is that the point is the same thing with 9/11 is that if you don't believe in the conspiracy, you should be very upset. There was
Oh,
failure.
the failure.
Of the failure.
I firmly believe that we had Obama or Bin Laden way before we killed him.
Okay, yeah, there are people that have said that. They said
Yeah.
he had health problems. Again, I don't know what's true or not. There was talk that he had kidney dialysis stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe a guy could be moving in and out
Can't
of
be like
caves with
running
all this,
around all over the
with all
country.
this heavy duty medical equipment you're going to need to survive. So yeah, that's also very bizarre. I remember, I don't know how you guys felt about this when you guys first found out, because it's your whole generation is so techie. I'm a caveman. I'm at work. I don't even have a computer at home. It's the early 2000s, so we're after 2001 and everything. And I don't know, say it's 04 or something like that. This lady at work's going, yeah, you know, we can zoom in and look at your house. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Yeah, let's just go to Google Earth. What? And she shows me at work, this lady at work, she zooms in at my house. And I'm just like, huh? You have this technology in the private. I'm sorry. It's the private sector because it's Google, right? But yet, what does the government have? And you can't find Osama bin Laden out in the deserts. You're not having that whole area zoomed in by satellites. I just thought, well, that's kind of weird. Jeez.
Yeah, Google Earth was created June 11th of 2001.
Right, based on military satellite stuff.
There you go.
Like they just lease that shit from the
And
government.
and I think the when they actually launched it to the public, it was 2005. So within 4 years of September 11th,
So-
they could zoom in on your house exactly where you are.
So there you go, you stupid fuckhead, Sacha Baron Cohen. You're a fucking hack. Everybody thought with your board, oh, you're the next big thing. Even I thought, Ricky Bobby. Oh, thought you're gonna be a big fucking deal. You're a hack. You're a joke, dude. Yeah, and you did a little video with Dick Cheney, who orchestrated probably a lot of the shit that we're talking about today. And we're supposed to believe that he didn't know you were who you were with makeup on. Fuck you, Sasha. Fuck you. And he comes out there and he says, oh, conspiracy theories on Facebook. Oh, we're confusing people and it's manipulating people, lying to people. So eat that, Sacha Baron Cohen. Eat that. Google Earth. Couldn't get Osama bin Laden. And today, here we are, 2020. We still can't stop the fucking drug dealers. But you wonder why people believe in conspiracy theories. You wonder why. You wonder why, Sasha. This is the thing that I'm just very passionate about, all this kind of stuff. So, I don't know. Hope we don't get killed over this, son. Maybe you should air this. I don't know.
If it's your time, it's your time. Sticking with it.
But those people that want to pay me millions, make me the
Blaze
next
of
Rush
glory.
Limbaugh. Hey, I'm right here. I mean, come on, bring it on.
Jay
you know?
for president.
There you go. That'll never happen. Oh, God.
What would you post on Twitter?
Oh, my
That's
God.
what I would want to know.
Oh, yeah. We'll stay off Twitter. Or we'll just quote other famous, more important people. That'd be the thing to do. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Quote Henry David Thoreau.
So what do you guys think
Hey,
so far? Sarah, ZP?
I don't know. My gears are really grinding right now. I feel a bit overwhelmed with all this information I've obtained
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
My question though is,
Sure.
what is against the Loose Change documentary?
Oh no, I'm not okay. If you go to Loose Change, so people are listening out there. You go right ahead. I'm just saying they dive right into conspiracy.
Okay.
Whereas I'm saying 9/11 Press Truth, they do more of a factual time layout of everything that happened, and they don't really say it was an inside job. They don't
Sure.
really say it was a conspiracy. They don't really they show it more from an area of ineptitude and failure, and people flopped, and it's almost so much so that it's almost like they're pointing. They don't
Sure.
quite say it,
Okay.
but they're almost like they're pointing. It's almost a little bit Michael Moore in the beginning of Fahrenheit 9/11, which most of that movie is more about Iraq. But the beginning part, he does talk about 9/11 as well, and he doesn't quite charge conspiracy either, but he sort of points. He sort of like he's pointing. If you have half a brain, you're going to go, huh? That's kind of weird. And there's so much weirdness with 9/11 we haven't even touched upon today, and we don't have time to even get into. But
Yeah.
these are the things that I wanted to do today. I wanted to show the ineptitude of George W. Bush and how scary it is that we elected this person. And I want to say to a lot of Americans, I know there's a lot of good people out there who don't want to believe what reality is. And there is a sad reality that there are these people behind the scenes. They probably are Satan worshipers. Oh, you're crazy. There's no such thing as Satan, blah, 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 blah. Well, Bohemian Grove is real. They get together, okay? It's all male. They will let women only in for a few hours and they kick them out. It's all male thing. It's going on for years outside of San Francisco. And they can burn huge fires in this precious forest redwood of California because they're super rich white guys and that's what they want to do. And they do a bunch of crazy rituals and run around naked and whatever, have all kinds of fun together.
Circle jerk.
And that's what they do. That's just what they do. Who knows what else?
Love
Bare
that
minimum.
phrase.
Bare minimum.
Who knows what else Bohemian Grove, other Bohemian Groves are out there and what they're called. And this is how the world is. So people don't want to hear it. In every presidential administration, I mean, Trump comes in, I'm going to drain the swamp. He says he's going to drain the swamp. He brings in Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin's from Goldman Sachs. What the fuck, dude? If Hillary had won, she would have a Treasury Secretary, probably from Goldman. I actually said to a room of millionaires, I said, I bet you gets $1,000 if she wins, she's going to bring someone from Goldman. Obviously, she didn't win, but nobody even took me up on that bet. So this is kind of interesting. And if anybody doesn't understand, again, Robert Rubin, during her husband's administration, Treasury Secretary, he's from Goldman Sachs. Hank Paulson was for George W. He's from Goldman Sachs. All these Goldman guys all around all the time. So it's just a flavor of how we really don't have a Democrat Republican Party at the top level. It's a joke. It's Demopublicans, Republicrats. It is a swamp. That part is true, but it is what it is, folks. It's really scary, negative stuff, and people just don't want to believe it. They want to believe this pro wrestling thing of Democrats, Republicans, Democrats. I say we need to get rid of both these parties and start all over again. So it's probably not going to happen, but anyway, it is what it is, and I appreciate people listening to the program, and I don't know if you guys have some final thoughts here
I
to
think
wrap
Steve
it up.
Hughes had some
go ahead.
comments. Yeah, I know
Please-
you want to say
please.
something.
I'm just sitting here in some cognitive dissonance right now. Having spent some pretty formative years in New Jersey, part of me is like, this is all just conspiracy theory, right? And wants to dismiss it and be like, whatever, that's not what I was told, that's not right. But then another part of me is like, you make a really compelling point. And you're making really well thought out arguments, and you've clearly done your homework, and you've clearly put in the time and the effort and the energy to think about what you believe. And I think you raise a lot of really interesting and difficult to grapple with ideas, right? How could we, to your point, Zach, how could we have failed so epically when we spend all of this money, right? How could we, and to your point, Jay, how could our, the best intelligence agencies in the world have, missed this, really critical point, right? And really critical target, that was iconic for America, right?
Yeah, right. In Jay's words, this normal guy can see.
Yeah,
could see
exactly.
it. And to the military point too, it's well, we don't really know what happened to that plane in, was it 96? But if that was taken out by military and they don't want to say it because they had to take out,
Or it could have been terrorism.
civilian
We don't
know.
Well,
Right. It's
terrorists.
that might have been proof that we had the technology to block something like 9/11.
Exactly.
But we don't. Again, maybe that would have been a direct we saved 3,000 people by killing 200. Right. So and again, they're not gonna. Come out and say that.
I'm just trying to sit with it, right? Because
Sure,
in my
no, it's
mind,
fine, it's fine.
I said, I know people whose families have died in 9/11, right? Whose parents are dead now because of what happened, right?
Wow.
And so in my mind, I'm I can't grapple. I'm trying to grapple with the fact, well, maybe my government did do this, right? Did kill the parents of friends of mine, right? I remember going to those funerals, right? I remember having to sit in class with these kids and just seeing the shock that they're in, and like the fact that they like can't even process like what's happening, and the fact that like the terror that I saw in their eyes like when that day happened, and the fact that like they knew their parents were there, like they knew where their parents worked, right? And so part of me is struggling with the fact that like my government could have done this, right? But then another part of me is like I would rather know what my government is capable of doing than not know. Right, and so I'm just sitting in some cognitive dissonance right now in my brain. So,
But it's all very disturbing. It's ultra disturbing, and I'll, if you don't mind me asking, without any naming anybody, obviously, but I mean, are you still in contact with any of them?
yeah, like I said before, my prom date and I, her dad was in South Tower when I got hit. Like, he was lucky to have been late to go to work, and she and I still talk all the time, right? Not all the time, but, like, fairly regularly. But I'm still Facebook friends with a lot of those people, and a lot of them end up being, like, really, really hardline Republican. And I wonder if that's just, like, again, there was a lot of brainwashing that I feel like I went through in my like middle school and high school experience, and like you alluded to earlier, like whenever these topics would come up in school, our teachers are very quick to shut down the conversation. And after school one day, I asked our history teachers why can't we just have this conversation? And his point was like, what does it accomplish, like other than make people upset, right? Because their parents are dead now, right? And they would be 16 and dealing with what I'm sitting here dealing with now, right? Like, it's hard to deal with as a 30-year-old, let alone as a 16-year-old, right? So, I mean, I get his point, but at the same time, I kind of wish there had been more kind of open dialogue about it then, because I would be more prepared to deal with it now, right? Like,
Well, right, and it says a lot about always having an open dialogue. And when you don't have an open dialogue, this is what happens: you're repressing things that need to be discussed, and you need to have enough of an integrated personality to be able to have these kind of conversations without breaking down and shutting it out and shutting it away, right? Because that's not going to make you a strong individual. Not just in conversations like this, but in life. Right, and so that is sort of what would that accomplish? Well, it accomplishes having stronger individuals and teaching people to have the emotional fortitude and temperance to have these kind of open dialogue conversations and discuss ideas. Because if you're going to allow your emotions to override your entire cognitive function, well, that's not going to get you very far in life. Maybe as an artist. But I don't know about outside of that.
right.
I'm sorry to see you get emotional. I mean, obviously, see me being emotional in an upset way. This is horrible. This is just horrible what happened, and we hope these things never happen again. But there's just a lot of disturbing information and a lot of disturbing facts here that I have a hard time with, and sometimes I do feel like. There is a they, and they just want us to be fat and happy and watch stupid things like Zach was talking about, The Bachelor, Bachelorette. They just want you to, watch your sports and your porn and, eat your fat, bread and circuses, exactly. Mm-hmm. And they don't want people to be critical thinkers or free thinkers. And I hope that this forum here, if it does anything good, I hope that it inspires people or motivates people. Maybe you get angry at first. You think, oh, that guy's an idiot. But then you're like, listen to something, you go, oh. Well, maybe you should go to the public library. Not just on the internet. That's fun and games, but it's right at your fingertips. But go to the public library. Get a David Ray Griffin book. I don't know. Look at it. Maybe you think he's full of a bunch of hooey. Get this video, Press Truth. Maybe you think, they're just a bunch of Democrats and they're trying to make the Republicans look bad or something. I don't know. There's
worth thinking about, right?
There's a lot of interesting stuff, and if we do more conspiracy shows, I mean, you'll kind of find this pattern of either people were in on this, and there was a quote-unquote conspiracy, and people have trouble with that words. Maybe I think that word has got a bad little rap. Yeah. We almost need to start making.
Well, you keep putting a foil hat with it.
Yeah,
so.
well, you gotta, because I know how
people do. It's like there has been like a smear campaign against. It's like, anything like this, it goes right in the bucket with Bigfoot and Loch Monster. And it's like, well, no. just because you're asking questions about this specific topic
Right.
doesn't mean that you agree with everything David Von Eyck and Alex Jones have to say about the world, right? And that's the issue with
Right.
people, is that they have these teams and these camps, and it's like as soon as you say something, you're like, oh yeah, you're on Team Blue, well you're on Team Red,
Right.
oh you're in the crazy bin, okay? And it's like, well no, like you can have opinions about different things, and I think most people do. I know you said earlier in our show here, Jay, that a third of the population leans right, a third of the population leans left, and there's a third in the independent. I would like to think that the independent group is a lot bigger, or at least a little bit bigger than we think about. But even though
I
that's
hope it's growing.
probably very accurate.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people hold different opinions, right? I don't think there's a lot of, at least in the younger generations, I don't think there's a lot of people who are very conservative that are anti the legalization of cannabis. For example, right?
Okay.
I don't really see that. And I know a lot of people who lean Democratic or left that are fine with like gun rights. Like
You
they,
do? Oh, you do? Okay.
Well, maybe that's a little anecdotal and subjective.
Okay.
But
All right, good.
But just to give you an example of where you have these hard party lines, and I think definitely in the younger generations, maybe more in me, Sarah, and ZP's generation, people are crossing those things more, right? They're having their own opinions on topics.
Good.
But
More
there is
nuanced.
sort of this, and I think maybe it's a stray from that one being like that your 1/3, like the kind of like dividing the
Right.
population by 1/3.
Yeah, sure.
It's a stray from that
Okay.
that we're seeing more of both the right and the left flare up and kind of antagonistic. They're kind of being like pushed into, like an animal's being pushed into a corner, right? They're seeing their numbers diminish because so many people. I think the middle is kind of growing, right? I think the independents are kind of growing, so they're kind of pushing, the ideas of hard right and hard left into a corner. And that's why, and social media also is a big megaphone to these things too.
Right.
So I'd like to think that, although we do see a lot of stupidity online and in the media and in daily life, people driving and texting at the same time, we see a lot of dumb stuff. I would like to think that, we are a little more educated than previous generations because of things like Google and because of platforms like this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there were talk radio things out there, or even the platform for anybody to sit in their basement like we are right now and record this
Ham
and put it out
radio.
there.
There was ham radio is what there was.
You know
But
what I mean?
yeah.
Not even 100 years ago. It's like we didn't
Yeah.
have any of that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think that there might be,
some
more
hope.
open-minded,
Yeah.
at least
Yeah.
more open-minded
Sure.
people out there.
I hope so. I hope so. I just want to go back to something real quick, by the way. I ripped on some high-level people in the CIA and the FBI. There are lots of lower-level people that actually were doing their job, and especially with September 11th, there were people in the FBI in particular who were warning about certain people who are in here with their expired visas who wanted to be trained to fly, and they weren't. There were some discrepancies whether they wanted to really learn how to land, and there were whistleblowers. I mean, they really were, and there was people above them that it just didn't go beyond that for whatever reason. Again, to me, it's either conspiracy or it's ineptitude, and somebody is failing and not doing their job, and it's very, very sad, and it cost a lot of lives that day. And let's hope that never happens again.
All right, well, thank you guys for listening. Again, for topics like this, and any topic, we really do is like an open platform. So for any of you guys, I reached out to some friends. I tried to get somebody to kind of sit here and be more of the person that would debunk the conspiracies or challenge the idea that the government might be behind this or anything like that. And no one picked up on it. So if you're listening, local friends and family, feel free. We can do a part 2. And a part 3, and a part 4, whatever. Feel free to join us so that we have all. This is an open dialogue platform, and I want to have all sides of an argument represented as long as we can. So thank you guys for listening. Hopefully, this is you've heard something that you haven't heard before. Again, like I didn't want to sit there and go the science of the jet fuel and kerosene. It's like glad we just skipped over that, and I think we talked about some things here, especially Jay, that most people don't talk about. And so, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.